Here's how I would ruin my life as quickly as possible if given the chance. Firstly, I would stop taking care of my health, my physical health. I'd stop exercising. I'd become sedentary, a couch potato. I would stop eating healthily, perhaps filling my diet with junk food and highly processed ingredients. I'd stop hydrating myself properly, perhaps turning to caffeine and alcohol instead of water and fruit juice. And then I would make sure that my mind and my emotions were as fluctuating and as crazy as possible. I wouldn't try and regulate my mental state. I would be angry, or I would let my impulsiveness take over, and I wouldn't look at the world with any logic or reason. I would read all of the news stories and watch all of the clickbait videos that are designed to rile you up. And I would find that, my mental state would deteriorate pretty quickly. And then I would also turn away from faith, from God. I would try and do things in my own strength, my own way, rely on myself, and make sure that, I would fall pretty quickly. That would be how I would approach the matter. And I think that by asking these questions of how would I ruin my life as quickly as possible, it gives us a glimpse into the answer of, what's the opposite of that? How would we fix our lives as easily and as best as possible? And often the answer is simply the inverse of that question. So before, where I would try and ruin my life really quickly with junk food, with watching and consuming so much news and negative media and turning away from faith, I would just do the opposite of those things. I would try and eat healthily. I would look after my body. I would exercise. I would move. I would practice perhaps some journaling or meditation to calm my mind and to help me to process some of the things that are going on in my life. And then I would turn to God. I would pray and read my Bible in order to feel grounded spiritually and present and peaceful. I think that's quite a useful framework for looking at things in life. Sometimes just to ask ourselves, what is the opposite? What would I do in this situation to do the opposite of what I'm trying to achieve? And then once you realise kind of those habits or those actions or areas that are going to be detrimental to achieving the goal that you're trying to achieve, then we can reframe those as things that, okay, let's reapproach them from the opposite angle and say, what should we be doing then to fix our life rather than to destroy it? And this is something that took me a long time to learn, to identify those areas of my life that I suppose were the most bang for their buck in terms of giving me peace and purpose and presence. And to me, they're really the three most important things that I can be at any one time in my life. To be peaceful, to simply ride the wave, whether there's good or bad happening in my life, whether it's full of joy or anger or sadness. Actually, just to be on a level, on a peaceful wave, that it doesn't really matter where the wave is going up or down. I know that I am just still. I'm peaceful. And a lot of that comes through presence as well. To be mindful in the moment that everything passes. We go through happy periods, we go through sad periods, but we come out of the other side of them both. And it's that journey and learning just to embrace the moment, to embrace whatever it is that you're going through. And finally, a sense of purpose, a sense that you're doing something in life, that you're going somewhere, that it gives a meaning to the way you live. Perhaps it's your values, or you know, a philosophy that you live by, but it gives you something to focus on and a framework by which to make decisions. And yeah, those three things have been really important for me. And I think that if you can look at your own life and see perhaps areas where you're trying to improve, you know, you might want to be able to regulate your emotions better. So you could sit down and make a list of things that, what would I do if I was trying to ruin my emotions and ruin my calm as much as possible? And you would probably sit there and you would list maybe consuming the news, reading clickbait articles that get you riled up, engaging in comment wars online, all of those kind of things. And then you would see, well, let me do the opposite of those things. Let me disengage from the negative and replace it with some positive habits. Perhaps you might start journaling and take it from there. You know, so yeah, that's really what I wanted to say to you today, that we all struggle with these things in life, but sometimes by looking at it from the opposite side, it can just help us to unpick what it is that we're perhaps doing wrong, or what areas we may need to focus on. It just gives us a bit of clarity. If you're interested in having a bit more clarity in life and trying to regain a sense of that peace and purposefulness that we all really want and need in our lives, then there's a short ebook linked in the description below that will take you through the systems that I've used and have helped me to kind of come out from being in a place of really just distraction, depression, a real low point in my life, and took me and transitioned me into a place of real peace, presence and purpose. So if you're interested, the link's down in the description, and I hope it helps, and I hope this video has helped. I'll catch you next time. God bless.